Hey guys, it's Drexel Heard with Black Hollywood Live's Political Culture. Today, we're talking the 15-hour filibuster the Democrats held the floor last week. Is Donald Trump going to go into the convention with a coup? And West Hollywood Councilwoman Lindsey Horvath is in the studio with us. Stay tuned.
You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, Political Culture.
Hey guys, it's Drexel Heard here in the studio with Black Hollywood Live's Political Culture. At the top of the show with Justin Timberlake's Can't Stop This Feeling. You can follow me at Drexel Heard.
Oh, hi guys. I'm Elayna. You can follow me at Hey It's Lay.
What's going on, guys? You can find me at B Sorrells.
And we've got our special guest in the studio, Yay! Councilman Lindsey Horvath.
Thanks for having me.
You can follow her at Lindsey P. Horvath on Twitter. I follow her all the time, and she tweets a lot. She actually tweets more than I do sometimes. That is saying something.
I stalked her Twitter a little bit.
All right.
After the finals, I couldn't find anything besides Cavs. I was like, okay.
Lindsey is from Cleveland, so obviously she had a great week last week.
Or Sunday.
At least, or Sunday. Great Sunday.
It was a very good Sunday.
Did
you cry? Oh my God. I was on the floor. I was bawling. I couldn't believe it. I turned the channel back on. I was like, did this really happen? I woke up the next morning. I checked Twitter. I was like, oh, it really happened. And then there was the ad from Nike, and I was like, oh, it really did happen. And I was crying again. It was the whole thing.
So we definitely have a LeBron lover here today.
Well, I had to say my heart was broken when he went to Miami, and there were some words. There were some words.
The Miami
but now he's back home and he won it, and the first ever in the history of our franchise. So it's pretty exciting.
It was an incredible game. And tonight, USA is playing Argentina in the soccer finals tonight.
Yeah,
Not the finals, but just their soccer championship tonight. So let's get right to it. Lots happened last week. Coming off the heels of what happened in Orlando, we talked a little bit about that. Democrats, led by Chris Murphy of Connecticut, held the floor for 15 hours last week.
Yeah.
It was the 8th longest filibuster in history. I don't think anybody's going to be able to beat Strom Thurmond's 24-hour filibuster on the Civil Rights Act, but Chris Murphy and Cory Booker held it down.
Yeah, they did.
And Lindsey, you were in the gallery.
I was there in D.C., and it was so impressive. I was so proud to be a Democrat, so proud to be an American, to watch our leaders in the Senate really taking responsibility and taking action, or at least trying to, for the recent actions that had happened in Orlando, and a whole slew of shootings, unfortunately, that we all are all too familiar with. Yes. And so it was really powerful to be there, to see people coming from all over the country, to watch the senators have this conversation, and to see the teamwork also among the senators and passing off the questions. I had to say I was there when Senator Baldwin read the names of the Orlando victims, and there was not a dry eye in the gallery.
One of the things that I thought was really refreshing was to see Ben Sasse, Nebraska senator, kind of be the only Republican on the floor. Not that he was in favor of what was happening, but he actually showed up to actually ask a question. And 40 senators showed up on the floor. There were a couple of senators that were absent. But then Senator Murphy, goes through the filibuster, gets the vote that he wants on the floor, and Republicans, they couldn't even get through the procedural cloture motion. They couldn't even vote through that. But what I found interesting is that Marco Rubio, the Florida senator, is one of the few senators. You've got all these senators who have had situations that have rocked their states, and they are, in terms of mass shootings, and they are voting against things that 80-90% of the constituency wants.
Right.
Yeah. So I found that very interesting, especially Marco Rubio, who may or may not run for re-election again.
Right.
You knew he wasn't going to give that up. Come on.
The opportunity. I was going to say, there was an open opportunity. Like what?
Right. Yeah. But let's talk about those 4 amendments real quick. And so Dianne Feinstein, our senator here in California, her amendment was the no fly, no buy, which was all about if you're on the terror watch list, you can't buy a gun.
Right.
Do you guys think that, we talked about it briefly last week, do you guys think that that's an effective tool going forward?
I think it's a reasonable litmus test. If we're not letting people, if they're on the no-fly list in this country, then not owning a gun seems to be a little bit more serious than not being able to fly. I mean, if we're going to the extent that they cannot travel even within this country, let alone outside of it, I think that's kind of a big litmus test.
I feel like if you're being watched, if you're on the no-fly list, meaning you're being suspected of possibly having some kind of terrorist interaction or whatever danger you pose to the other guests on that plane, then I also think that, no, you don't need a gun. But it shouldn't be like, you shouldn't wait until someone is on that watch list to not fly before you can say, okay, they can't get a gun. Like whatever screening is happening for the no-fly list and the no-gun list, it shouldn't be the same, because there will be kind of different, like, in my mind, if you're going to be on a no-fly list, it'll be more so you'll have a bomb, you might carry a weapon, but it may be something a little more discreet that you can get through security with, and et cetera, et cetera. As far as purchasing a gun, I can literally leave here, go buy a gun, and go commit my act if I wanted to before I got on any list.
In 10 minutes.
And probably 5 before I was able to be flagged. So I think that the screenings for each list should be different. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be one and the same.
Yeah, and that's something we touched on last week. Just basically having some type of system where it's red flags. We're like, okay, this person was obvious, like the gentleman from Orlando who had already, the FBI had already had him in 2013 and 2014 as far as, and he was immediately dismissed, and that should have been something to where we're like, okay, wait a minute.
They investigated,
right,
and then he was dismissed. I guess it's just trying to find a way to, after they investigate and we okay, he's cleared, what measures do we take to make sure that the reason he was flagged in the first place doesn't happen again? You know what I mean? Because it's not their fault that he was cleared after they investigated.
Right.
It just so happened that he was a potential terror. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and I think that was, Rand Paul talks about it, and I know the libertarians talk about it a lot just in terms of civil liberties, just that due process, we have no idea if we're on the terror watch list.
Yeah.
Ted Kennedy was on the terror watch list, and I don't even think they know. I don't even think Ted Kennedy knew for a little while that he was on the terror watch list. So, I think that is part of the reason why it failed. The Feinstein Amendment failed. But the other amendment that I thought was really interesting was John Cornyn's amendment, where the Attorney General could delay purchases for terror. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Why would you delay it? Even if, does that mean, is that a combination of due process?
Right. Well, I think what's interesting is kind of for instance, if somebody, commits a sexual crime, majority of the time they're going to have to be registered on, the sex offenders list. And I think that's something that we definitely, like you said, need to look into, and especially with this system to implement for, like you said, terrorist people and see if that's going to make a difference, and really get into A/B testing and see, okay, is this going to work? Because it can't be any worse than what's going on right now with the shootings. You know what I mean? So something definitely has to be done.
Go ahead.
Well, I just think, the Republican amendments that were proposed were in direct response to the amendments that the Democrats proposed.
Right.
And so, perhaps they really were good intentioned in these amendments, but I just really saw them as ways to block the action that the Democrats were trying to move forward. Once again, it was the Democratic Party in the Senate really trying to move legitimate reform forward, being blocked by these actions that really didn't make sense, and they were written to seem as if they were addressing what the amendments were that were being proposed, but really I don't think that they were written in good faith.
Right.
I think they were just intended to shoot down the action that was trying to happen.
Because if you look at the Grassley Amendment, improved instant background checks versus universal background checks, you're like,
wait a minute.
But the universal part of it covers pretty much everything that you're talking about. So you've got, they started at 2. They ended about 8 o'clock, so about 5 or 6 hours, just debating this on Monday, and not a single thing came out of that whole thing. And I know a couple of Republican senators got on the floor and said, "I don't know what we're doing here. We're basically wasting our time."
Right.
They said that, and I think that's a little discouraging to people. I would like to see a little bit more cooperation. I know that Senator Manchin and he had an amendment, a bipartisan amendment. So we got to get back to bipartisan amendments that we know can can push forward. And
that goes into the healthy relationship we were talking about.
I was just thinking that.
It's okay to have opposition.
It's okay to agree to disagree.
We are not gonna agree on everything,
Yes.
Right.
and that's fine. But be able to have that healthy relationship where you can go tit for tat. I can express how I'm feeling. I can express my views. I can express why I feel like these amendments, where they fail, where they don't fail, and we can go. That helps us as Americans because now we're getting the whole picture and we're seeing, we're seeing it full throttle, so we can engage more into the conversation and in everything like that, opposed to you saying, "I don't know what we're doing here. Why are we here?" Well, for the people in your party, you are their voice.
Exactly.
So you have to be
Know what's
there.
going on.
You have to be there to speak for the people who aren't there, who aren't in your position.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Lindsey, with West Hollywood having a large LGBT population, how did all of this, from Orlando to the filibuster to the failure on the Senate floor, kind of affect a lot of the constituents in West Hollywood?
Well, I woke up that morning. I started my day in Colorado Springs. I was in a training at the Air Force Academy over the weekend, and I was flying home that morning. So I was up at 3 a.m. Colorado time. So I lived with the information for quite some time, and it was absolutely devastating news and just made me sick. I was about to get on a plane to come home, and just thinking about, I was glad that I was going home, but to be with my community, who is my family, in this really difficult moment. But, for all of us, it was, we didn't really know how to feel in many ways. There were people who were angry. There were people who were scared. There were people who were sad. There were people who were committed to making sure that our Pride celebration continued. There was another incident that happened in Santa Monica, so we were sort of monitoring that and making sure that our in moving forward with the day's festivities that we were keeping everybody safe and that we had extra precautions. And I really want to give a shout out to the Sheriff's Department, LAPD, and the FBI came together.
They moved swiftly on that.
Absolutely, and they were more dedicated. I was there. We did a Pledge of Allegiance outside the station.
Sorry, with your little cap on.
I know. And then we, one of the deputies said, it's important more today than ever that especially the LGBT community know that all of law enforcement is on their side and there to protect them, which I just found completely moving. In so many ways, the LGBT community has seen government and institutional power working against the community, and so to see that demonstration in such a way that the community was really coming out for the LGBT community was very, very powerful and very moving. So it was an important day for us all to be together, and I'm glad that we proceeded with the day's events. It's been a roller coaster of emotions since then. Watching the filibuster, then watching it fail yesterday, and so But I do think that there is this new alliance that's going to be forged between the LGBT community and the Brady folks and those who are really looking to pass some sensible gun reform measures. I think that LGBT folks have a pretty good streak going on in terms of the success, and I think that's really where these actions are coming from. When you see people getting progress, there's going to eventually, unfortunately, be some backlash.
Right.
And while we could have never predicted that it was going to happen in exactly this way, it's not surprising that there are people who are feeling threatened because we are getting closer to that more equal that more perfect union. And so, and I think that's what equality looks like. That's what it's supposed to look like. So
when I was in church on Sunday, my pastor actually spoke on it, and as tragic as the events was, he was like, maybe there was some kind of silver lining in it for the LGBT community. Now we're going to operate in more love. Like, they've already been fighting for so much and just wanting respect, because one of the victims who came forward, he was saying thank you to the paramedics. He was like, thank you, I'm so grateful for you. And my pastor was just like, he was saying thank you as if their job wasn't to save him. And he just helped us notice that so many times people in the LGBT community, they feel forgotten and left out about because of their sexual orientation. So just for the victims in that moment, like when they were being saved, when they were being, some of them had to be dragged out, and they were so grateful. He was like, you were gonna be saved. Like, you're a human. There's nothing any different between you and I. So I think that there was a silver lining in it as far as the initiative that we're all gonna take forward, and just.
And the unity. I think that's one of the things, like you said, they feel like they've been forgotten because of labels. And I think that was a really beautiful thing for them to see everyone be behind them and say, look, this is about humanity. You know what I mean?
Well, and I also think, something that people aren't talking about enough is also that it was Latin night, and most of the people who were there were people of color. And so, being an LGBT person of color, just pushes you further and further to the margin.
Exactly.
And so, putting those folks at the center of the focus of the work in that moment and throughout the country, I think is a change in the conversation, an important one to make sure, when we recall this action, it was an action taken against Americans. We can't forget, though, that those Americans were LGBT people of color, and for the most part, and that they are part of our community.
Definitely.
And we touched briefly on that last week. And I said a couple times, not just last week, but just throughout the week to people, that I hope that this conversation not only opens it up to gun reform from, with HRC kind of leading the charge with the Brady folks, but that we're also having a conversation, because the LGBT community has a huge voice and can probably steal that conversation into equal pay and police brutality, just things that affects both. That affects all the all the communities, and hopefully that will stem from that conversation. So hopefully we'll see some things happen over the next couple of years, and with Democrats leading the charge as well in Washington. Speaking of Washington D.C., though.
What's
my
happening
favorite,
in Washington?
My favorite Donald Trump.
Here we go.
So the Republican convention's coming up next month, with the Democrats leading the Democrats right after that. Olympics are happening right at the same time. So
which is crazy.
I don't know what people are going to be really paying attention to.
They're going to be
but everybody needs to be paying attention to Donald Trump, because this is going to be very good. One of the questions I wanted to ask you guys is, there's been a lot of talk right now. So Donald Trump fired his campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, yesterday. Paul Manafort has taken over, so the Trump campaign has kind of taken a different turn.
Yeah.
The kids have taken over, and I've always said that the kids run the Trump empire. Ivanka and Donald Trump Jr. and all those kids, they run the empire. But do you guys still think there could possibly be some sort of delegate switch on the floor?
No. Why? Why would there be?
Yeah.
Republicans want to win.
Well, but I think the Republicans are getting in line behind the person who is the presumptive nominee.
Yeah.
You
Right.
see folks who said that they would never support him,
And now-
saying they're going to support him. In true Republican Party fashion, I mean, people get in line. Once that's all done, you get in line, and that's the way it goes. I mean, could there be things that happen at the convention? Certainly. But I think, they're really trying to figure out how they keep the Republican Party together. And so having that solidarity going into the convention, I think, was really important to the Republican Party. I've been hearing especially conversations of women where we're talking about women's voice in this election, Republican women who are saying, I don't know if the party has a place left for me. I don't know if there's room for me here anymore. And, because it's, if this is the leader of the party, if this is who we're saying is leading this charge for us, he really doesn't speak to anything I care about.
Right.
And so, or certainly disregards a lot of what's important to me.
Right.
And so I think that's going to be the interesting question, is those Republican folks to feel that it no longer represents them, whether they're actually going to turn out, and if they do, whether they're going to turn out for a Republican. Because I know, there was the elected official up in, I think it was South Dakota, who came out in favor of, said, Republicans said, former elected official said, I'm going to support Hillary Clinton. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm supporting her. And I think there are a lot of people who just know that is, that's the reasonable thing to do right now.
So the Stop Trump movement kind of like hit a wall at one point. But Kendall Unruh, she's a Colorado delegate, and Bill Kristol, who's from the Washington Standard, kind of are both still leading this Stop Trump charge.
Yes.
In term, not only Stop Trump, but bringing in a third party candidate. And I just don't know that there is a person out there who would want to jump into this race right now at this point.
That would get back.
That would gain traction.
Yeah.
And new polling came out today where Hillary Clinton is up by 8 points nationally. Florida, she's up, and the swing states, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, they're tied in Ohio. However, if you're up 8 points nationally, I don't know that the swing state polling is that close.
Yeah.
Ohio being at 40, tied at 40, I just don't think that Ohio's that close. And then the FEC reports came out last night where Hillary Clinton was $42 million cash on hand, and Donald Trump is swinging at $1.3 million cash on hand.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
How does that?
Somebody tweeted, Eric Garcetti has more cash on hand for his mayoral reelection.
Right.
Yes.
Like, what?
Which my favorite thing of the night last night was the trending Twitter hashtag Trump
Oh my
so poor.
goodness.
All night last night. I just kept watching. I was like, oh my goodness, this is a thing.
Yeah.
And before that, the Twitter beef that was happening between Trump and Hillary.
There's going to be a lot of that going on. I think
just like extra long on. I think it was. I want to say it was Monday night, maybe Saturday. But it was the past few days, and it was like I was just like, seriously, guys.
Yeah, she's
and here's the thing about Trump, and I don't want to say this. I was taught that to be the best, you have to compete against the best.
Right.
And we talk every week here on our panel, and I feel that we're safe to say that we are Democrat supporters. But the thing about me is, but the thing about it is, I don't have an issue with Republicans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that they definitely deserve, like you said, someone who can represent them, and and be able to be a fair fight. And right now, I just feel like they're gonna still be behind Trump just because of the simple fact they don't want to see. You know what I mean?
Now
Which is
they
interesting,
will.
right?
Do you guys think that Republicans have had a strong candidate in the past decade?
Well, in the past decade, that's 10 years.
I mean, that's Romney, McCain, Bush. I mean,
Well,
should we go back 2 decades? I don't know.
There's reasons why they ended up becoming they're the nominee for the Republican Party at different points, and and Bush somehow miraculously on their side won a re-election. I don't know how, but I think Senator McCain, his credentials really speak for themselves.
I was just about to say McCain wasn't,
and it was very interesting. I thought to see I think it was last week, the vice president came out and made a very strong pitch for Senator McCain, saying that when they served together, that Senator McCain was somebody he could count on in terms of loyalty, as a human being, and the kind of relationship that they developed. Something that you were talking about a little bit earlier. He said we certainly have plenty of policy differences, but we worked together and we were colleagues, and he was somebody that I knew I could count on as a person. And I think those kinds of relationships are really what's missing. And so I hear you. I mean, there's not one candidate that you just named that I was any at all interested in supporting.
Too bad, but
when they each brought something unique to the table that I think appealed to different factions of the Republican Party, and that's how they got there. But I think what's they're really struggling with, and what the Democratic Party is doing very well, is understanding that America is changing, and that we do not have one uniform face, one uniform voice. We are many voices, we are many people, and we are many perspectives.
Right.
And I think the Democratic Party, being loosey-goosey in a lot of ways, really having experience of bringing different kinds of people together. And I remember in Obama in 2012, it was like Asian American nurses of the inner city for Obama. It was like the most hyper targeted, like, you know, and you were like, that's awesome. He's really speaking to me. And I think that's increasingly what people are going to want to see is, you know, are they really paying attention to me, or are they just talking at me? Are they giving me talking points?
Empty
are they, you know,
promises
that
or-
sort of thing?
And that's not only from the presidential level. I think that's going to be the norm on down, all the way down to city council.
Absolutely.
Was there a Republican candidate that you were like, ooh, that would be a great candidate for them
This year?
this year?
Oh,
Out of 16, you can.
No, I just watched those debates with popcorn, and you know, I mean, you were just waiting to see who was going to have the line of the night, and then they were, you know, one-upping each other all the time. I mean, it was really devastating. I think, especially on a global scale, you know, my friends internationally were like, "Tell me this is a joke."
Oh yes.
And you know, and so I think I'm hoping that by getting to the general election, we're actually going to have more of a conversation that's policy and issues oriented, so people understand that we do respect the office of the president, that we are taking this seriously as a country, and we do care quite deeply about what our future might hold.
I mean, we had 8 years of serious.
But we still don't need the office to become entertainment. I think we talked about that before. It's not entertainment. Like,
And President Obama talks about it all the time.
These are like, my life is in your hands. What happens, how much I can do, how much I can accomplish is literally around, you know?
Right.
I think I definitely think it needs to be a balance, because you know, one thing we did respect about Obama is that he wasn't a robot behind it. You actually got to see that he was a family man. He's, you know, you could see him at the back. He's us. He's relatable, and I think that it has to be a balance between I can take care of business and then you know who I am, almost in a community balance.
Yeah.
So.
Like when he slow jammed the news.
Yes, like when he slowed down the news.
Exactly. I know I was at the United State of Women Summit last week prior to the filibuster,
goodness.
and so the First Lady was doing an interview with Oprah, and she's like, "What are you most looking forward to?" And she was like, being able to open the door without having to tell like 10 people before I open my front door. And she said that, you know, one of her daughters opened a window in the White House, and it was like security went off everywhere. And she was like, and I just was like trying to think about, you know, growing up, like imagine not being able to open your own window in your room, like, you know. And so I think they did an excellent job as parents keeping those kids,
for sure.
you know, those girls are remarkable in all that they're doing, and it's really exciting to have watched them grow up in the White House. And so I think, you know, among all of the accomplishments during the administration, you know, on a policy side, I think it was really nice to see a good, solid family in the White House. I think that was really nice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely see what happens at the Republican convention next month. But you, Lindsay, are going to be at the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia.
Yes, I will. It'll be hot and sticky.
Where Hamilton will probably be performing. I know the Clinton campaign has reached out to Lin-Manuel to see if Hamilton's going to be performing. But I want to just go down a few things about you real quick. So you were appointed to the City Council in 2009.
I was.
Then you were reelected in 2015.
Yep.
You were global ambassador to 1 Billion Rising. You were a founding member of No Hate Campaign.
Yep.
I still want to talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
In 2007, you were on the WeHo Women's Advisory Board.
Yes.
You were Transportation Commissioner from 2011 to 2015.
Yes.
And you graduated cum laude from Notre Dame.
I did.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What else do you do? Are you
Is there anything else you don't
woman?
Not at all. Not at all. Like, I mean, you know, we all do our part, and I think especially in a millennial generation, we're always doing something. You know, there's no this is my 9 to 5 and this is what I do. You know, we're all sort of doing multiple things and really have our, you know, lots of irons in the fire. And you know, I was really fortunate to have many opportunities to get involved in my community, to get to know the people and know my city, and to really be able to make a difference and get an understanding of what issues people cared about, and really, you know, that special something that makes a community, you know. And people really say that about West Hollywood, and that was something that was really important to me to protect.
And then, and what people don't know is that California has some really weird, like, election rules. Like, you know, you have to be the top 2 on the ballot to be, to run in the general election for a senator. But in West Hollywood, every year the mayor rotates.
Yes.
And last year you were the mayor, and that's where we first met for the first time, right before the new mayor took over.
Yep.
So what has been your experience as a young millennial leader in Los Angeles? This is the largest city in the nation, and you're kind of this rising star. Every time I talk to somebody, they're like, "Oh my God, I love Lindsay so much."
That's
Lindsay's
very
coming on
nice.
your show.
We should have the Superwoman intro song.
Look, I think it's interesting to be able to be a young voice. I think there's danger in that. That people are like, well, what do young people think about this? I'm like, do you think I represent every single young person? Like, you got to ask high school students what they think.
Right.
You got to ask college students what they think. I've been out of college for 10 years, I think, more than that now. I mean, it's different, and so I think that, and that's what I really try to impart to young people too. That everybody says, oh, you're our future, this and that, but the truth is, you're our now.
Yeah.
Your voices matter now. When we look at the numbers that millennials are going to be in terms of the workforce, we're really changing the face of America. And the industries that we've gotten in are the industries that are growing in our economy, and I think that's really important. And so making sure that we find ways to bridge generational gaps is very important to me. It's one of the reasons I've prioritized focus on aging issues in our community. Actually, we have a very significant senior population in West Hollywood, and making sure and that's also nationwide. That population is growing very rapidly, and if we don't figure out how we're going to care for people as they get older, we're going to be we're going to have a big problem on our hands. And so making sure that we're planning for that as a community and thinking about that, and making sure that people can age in place and stay in the community that they know and love and have the support that they need as they get older is very, very important. And so having those kinds of conversations, I try to take those opportunities, because everybody likes to get even my friends will be like, back when Lindsay was in diapers, I'm like, thank you.
We knew she'd be president.
It's like, why is it got to be about age? Like, I'm just here representing people in my community, and we happen to agree, and it doesn't really matter, But I will say, West Hollywood, 50% of our city is under the age of 40, and until recently, our city council didn't really reflect that. Our appointed officials and our commissions and advisory boards, we were sorely lacking in terms of young voices. And so I really wanted to make sure that we help to cultivate a new generation of leadership and bring new people to the table. I think that's really important.
And that's a lot going on in West Hollywood.
Well, it's an incredible city. I could talk about it forever, but I mean, there's so much fun that happens there, but there's so much change. We're known as the creative city, and whether that's because of the arts and culture that happens, or the creativity we bring to how we use our voices to make change. I mean, it's like the perfect label for our city.
You're
So,
also the most walkable
That's right.
city
Yes.
in the nation?
in our state.
In
I mean,
California.
we're pretty close. Pretty close. We're keeping it competitive.
What does that even mean, most walkable city?
So the way that we have designed the city in terms of our planning and how our city is laid out, we are thinking about pedestrian access and how and the pedestrian experience, and encouraging people to get out of their cars and be able to walk. They can get to all of the things that they need to get to residentially. That because we are only 1.9 square miles, some of it is just kind of how
Which it takes
how
me
the city.
forever to get down Santa Monica Avenue. I don't know that 1.1.
Yeah, well, and
the
we're
longest
working
street
on
in
that.
the
The
city.
traffic is
that.
crazy.
But part of the reason it's slowed down is because we want to make sure that folks who are crossing Santa Monica Boulevard can do so safely. And so, I know people didn't really like the little signs we put in the middle of Santa Monica Boulevard.
They
People-
scared me, actually.
See? But they slowed you down.
They
a bit.
slowed me down.
Yeah.
And when they, I was just like, whoa, what is this? They just
Yeah.
start, okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, and they're temporary. They're temporary. So once we have the more permanent overhead lights and things that we're installing, once all of that's in, those will come out. So
And
hang in there.
I'm honestly, I'm the opposite, because like I said, I'm from Texas, so everything's big and spread out. So when I came and was visiting Hollywood and West Hollywood, and I was seeing all the pedestrians, everybody was like, hey, go ahead and cross. I'm like, what? This actually exists out here?
Yeah.
So I loved it.
Yeah, no, it's great. And because, there is so much traffic in the city, and we are transit deprived in West Hollywood, it's been something I've been focused on working on, is bringing Metro to West Hollywood. And we're working with Crenshaw Communities to bring the Crenshaw line extension north through West Hollywood, and then connect to the Red Line. So as it would connect all the way down to the South Bay, to the Green Line down there, you could get from Torrance to Hollywood in one seat.
That's
if
great.
our line
that's gonna
happens.
be
So
That would be
so we're building a coalition. If anybody's interested, all on board coalition is what we're about, and trying to move that forward. And that conversation's happening right now with Metro. But because of the traffic issues that we experience in the city, we want to make sure that people, as they're getting out of their cars, whether they're walking or biking, that they can do so safely, that it's an experience that's enjoyable, that they're encouraged to do again. It doesn't traumatize them, but also that we can think about how we build our community where you don't have to get everywhere by car.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to switch it up a bit.
Sure.
Elayna's going to rapid fire some questions at you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm just questions are.
So no, they're still gonna be the same kind of tempo. I just
right.
kind of want to know more. Like, so we hear things about about you and about the initiatives that you have taken when you were mayor. And I think that one of the things that I didn't know personally was that you kind of penned an open letter and banned Trump from coming to. Can we talk about that, or
We can. Everybody's been talking about it now. So I was really disheartened and, quite frankly, disgusted when the final straw for me was when the fights broke out at one of his rallies, and he got up on stage and said he was going to pay the people's legal fees. I was like, someone running for president cannot do that. I mean, that is absolutely. It encourages violence. It condones violence, and that is conduct unbecoming any American, especially somebody who's running for the highest office in the land. So I was like, I got to say something. I got to be on record, And so I wrote this letter, directed to the Trump campaign, and told him and his campaign that they weren't welcome in West Hollywood. I shared it with the mayors of LA County, thinking like, maybe if I share it with some of the other mayors, they'll fall in line. Well, but that it would make a difference, because I was like, what's one letter going to do? But at least I'm on record, and exactly. And so, doing what I can to use my voice to speak out about what he's doing, and unbeknownst to me, one letter I guess was enough. Although there were some other mayors who joined in and sent in their own respective letters and showed their support. But the LA Times reached out about it, and then from there it was MSNBC and CNN. Everybody wanted to talk about it, and people got all caught up in special event permits and all this stuff. And I was like, we are not greeting him at the border with our sheriff's department.
Right.
Like, that's not who we are or what we're about.
Right.
What we're saying is that our community is a diverse community that celebrates our diversity. We don't apologize for it. We don't tolerate differences. We celebrate it. That's what makes our community special. Yes. And somebody who can't get with that, I don't need to roll out the red carpet for you, and that was the sentiment that I was expressing. I know there were like a handful of people, and I think maybe 2 or 3 actually lived in the city of West Hollywood, who showed up and said, we support Trump, and good for them. We're not trying to discourage.
Your voice. Right.
We're not trying to tell people what to think or that they can't think certain things, but in fact, quite the opposite. What we're saying is we work hard to create an environment where everybody feels free to express themselves, and that was not the environment that he was creating, and he, quite frankly, continues to create. There's violence and disruption everywhere he's showing up, and that's why I'm quite frankly concerned about Cleveland. My family's there, and I want to make sure that that's a safe place.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's safe to say that Donald Trump won't be doing a fundraiser at the Abbey.
Well, I don't get a say in that, but I don't know why he'd come to our community. We voted over, I think, like over 80 or 90% for Obama in 2012, and past elections. So I don't think he's got much support in our city to begin with.
No,
It'd be a waste of time for him.
I guess I also wanted your opinion on amongst the list of things that Drexel read off of.
Yeah, I'm still reading them.
You were also regional coordinator for 1 Billion Rising?
So I was a global coordinator focused in the Los Angeles area for 1 Billion Rising, which is a global campaign of the V-Day movement to end violence against women and girls. And it came out of the idea that UN statistics tell us that one in 3 women in her lifetime will be raped or beaten, which amounts to over 1 billion people on the planet. And so I had been working with Eve Ensler since college. I produced and directed the Vagina Monologues at Notre Dame. No easy feat to do on college campus. So that's how I got introduced to her and her work. And so we had been working together when I moved to California. And so she, came up with this idea, what if 1 billion people rose on the planet to say, we're going to put a stop to this.
Powerful.
What would that look like? And she's like, let's just try. And so we worked really hard. We got over 200 countries to have actions throughout the world on the same day.
Wow.
We had over 1 billion people take action in some way, shape, or form. There was, of course, true to West Hollywood's form, we also used creativity. So there was a flash mob dance that was choreographed and all kinds of things. But, and people really embraced the creativity and how they let their voices be heard. But it's been an exciting campaign, and it continues. It's grown every year and evolved and really started to focus on some issues that you wouldn't necessarily immediately think about related to violence against women, like environmental injustice and how women disproportionately live in polluted environments, or economic injustice and how women disproportionately are living in poverty. And when we are still looked to care for our young people, by and large, majority of the time, that's a real problem. Women not having access to resources to take care of our next generation is a problem. So we're getting into some of those issues that aren't an easy soundbite, but are very important and speak to the issues that unfortunately cause violence in communities.
I'm definitely happy you went into that spiel, because I didn't know it was also focused on environmental issues, because there is so much more that are against women. I asked you about that because I wanted your opinion. So like last week or so, we talked about the student from Stanford who was sentenced to 6 months,
only 6 months
for rape, and then said that he would get off. The judge said that he would get off 3 months if he had good behavior. So I guess because you had that position and you were so hands-on and so involved, I wanted your opinion on that sentencing, like the way that the judge carried it, the way that the father sent the letter.
I was at the letter.
Saying that he's being punished for 20 minutes of action.
It was disgusting.
I mean, all of it is horrifying, and watching that play out in the public eye, my first fear was, how many people are going to be discouraged from reporting? How many people are going to believe that the justice system won't serve them if they come forward and tell their story? But we can't act from a place of fear, and so that's really a big part of what we're about, is making sure that we are holding institutions accountable and saying, that can't stand. And I was so moved by that young woman's speech, and that she took it upon herself to call him out and really share her opinion. I think was I don't know how often that's ever happened, if ever. And I think it was a very powerful statement and really resonated with a lot of survivors who always wanted that opportunity to sort of tell their perpetrator exactly how they felt. And so I think that when we have conversations about the justice system and focusing more on restorative justice, I think that was a step in the direction of her getting some sense of justice, being able to speak her mind and speak out and speak her truth about what happened, more than the court system delivered to her. And so I think we really need to have honest conversations about what our justice system is and isn't delivering to people, especially those very vulnerable folks who are bringing these stories forward and should be believed. I mean, that was a very powerful statement by our vice president saying, we believe you, we believe you. And I think that's the most important thing we need to be telling survivors out there, people who have had these experiences who don't know, whether they should report. We believe you. Please come forward. We want to help you. And so I think that's that's hopefully what people saw was her strength and her courage, and will be motivated to do that.
I wish we had more time with you, but I do want to, I am going to switch it to be for the trending topics. I guess I just want to, I want to lighten the mood a little bit. Those were like really heavy. So I almost want to know, we know that you are a proud Democrat, and we know that you're going to be at the convention.
Yep.
So who would you like to see as Hillary's VP? What's your VP pick?
Well, I must admit, I am very excited about Senator Warren.
Okay.
My shero.
How many years of, all mail ticket, and I forget who asked, like, do you think that's even possible? It's like, yeah, it's possible.
This
we have
election,
generations of all mail. So that would be exciting. But it'll be interesting to see who she chooses and whether I think at the end of the day, I hope that they really think about that person being somebody who can actually be the president. You don't want to just choose somebody to say, oh, it's a nod to this community or that community. You want somebody who really has the credentials to step into that role, God forbid anything were to happen.
Not only be the president, but not be groomed to be the president.
Right.
Exactly.
What's your pin?
Oh, it's my City of West Hollywood pin. It's our flag. It's the Rainbow City, and we love it. We love it.
Well, thank you for that, B. You have got the topics of the week.
The trending topics, and we already know it's been a crazy week. So let's keep it going with the girl power going on. We already have Refuge done everything already. No, so on Sunday, Italy actually hired their Virginia Raggi. She was a 37-year-old first female mayor for Italy in over 3,000 years.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, she's everything. So, she just got sworn in on
look
Sunday.
at her.
I know. She's so beautiful. She's young. She's only 37. She's gorgeous. And so she got elected in Sunday. So they had a huge celebration for her. And 3,000 years, that's like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah. We're still trying to catch up.
Right. To switch over, Clarence Thomas rumors, and I hope y'all see his face because it was hilarious, the picture. But it was rumors going around that he was going to be retiring.
Right.
His wife dismissed that, saying it was bogus, that he's not going anywhere.
What?
Yeah.
I think it's just a ploy to try and get people to turn out.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
for sure. And so everybody, of course, that was a trending topic. Everybody was going crazy, like, what? He's retiring, and his wife made sure to do.
But that would just be scary, just the idea of Donald Trump, like, appointing any Supreme Court justice, even if it's Clarence Thomas. I don't know if we want that.
Yeah. And then lastly, so exciting news, the Clintons welcomed a grandson this past weekend, Chelsea and her husband, and the baby's name is Aiden Clinton Mazvinsky.
Aiden.
So cute. I know, what a cute little name. And so the Clintons tweeted a photo out, Hillary did, and she said, what a joy being with our new grandson Aiden, so grateful. And I thought about you, I was like, ooh, I know he's so excited.
I watched them come out. They've been very exciting grandparents. But I watched them come out, like, you know, when like Prince Charles and like when there's a royal baby, like they come out and they're like waving and the baby comes out. Yeah. And that's what the Clintons did. They came out of the hospital and they were like waving. And I think I don't remember that for the Chelsea's first baby, but this one was definitely they walked out, you know, right out the door. And I
really thought it was her first. And then when I said, I was like, oh my gosh, your second child, like they're very, you know,
that was hush hush.
Oh, very, for sure.
Not hush hush, but like I didn't even know Chelsea was pregnant.
I know.
Charlotte, come on now, she's the apple of Hillary's eye.
Yeah, no, I mean I didn't know she was pregnant with Aiden.
Yeah,
I didn't know she was pregnant for a long time.
So that is the trending topics going on around the world, guys.
Well, congratulations to the Clintons.
Definitely.
Going into the convention, very exciting.
Yes.
So we want to thank Lindsey for joining us today on this show. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can catch Lindsey at Lindsey P. Horvath. I will be at Politicon this weekend in Pasadena, so stop by because it's going to be so much fun. You can follow me at Drexel Heard.
You can find me at Hey It's Lay.
Wait, I got it. You can find me at B. Sorrells.
And we will see you all next week.
Bye.
See you later.
See you later.
Thank you.
From executives Keven Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio. Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in. The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.